Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. My name is David Cooper from the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz. Good evening. Here representing Benchmark Senior Living in its ongoing petition to amend the zoning code and rezone a parcel to the Elder Care District. This is the undertaking to facilitate the development of an 87-unit assisted living facility behind the church property, the Pleasantville Methodist Church along 117 or 70 Bedford Road. Let me introduce you who's with me tonight, and then I'll give you a quick overview of what we'd like to do tonight and kind of hand it over to the consultants. Bill Cook, who is the project manager from Benchmark, who you all know, is with us tonight, as well as Anthony Guccione and Rich Pearson from John Meyer Consulting, who will be taking us through the project tweaks and updates for you. We're here tonight for what I would characterize as sort of a status report to your board as plans keep progressing, and we meet with various consultants of your board and in the village to tweak the plans and kind of bring them up to date. Since we last met with you in July, our team has met with your fire department, with your members of the DPW. We have tweaked our plans in response to some of the comments, and we'll take you through that tonight. We've also submitted a preliminary SWIP, the Stormwater Pollution and Prevention Plan, for your consultants to take a look at, and we can take you through our initial plans as well as utilities. And we identified an additional intersection to be studied in the traffic analysis. Although we've identified it, of course, we haven't done the traffic counts yet because, as Richard can take you through, school is not in yet, or if it is, it's just started. We're going to do those counts in September when all schools are back in session. You've got a realistic count. I'll have Anthony and Rich take you through everything in a second. One procedural matter, which we're wanting to touch on right now, is what we believe we'd like to do is request that this board schedule its public hearing. You know, the public hearing is required both, I guess, under the rezoning petition for September 30th. We believe by that point, your board will have all of the necessary comments from your consultants, from the public, as well as all the materials that we will be submitted by that point to make a determination of significance for SECRA, and what we hope will be a conclusion of the SECRA process with a negative declaration. So I guess at the end of this presentation, I'm going to come back up and ask that we can schedule that public hearing.
I'm not certain that we will commit to you to that tonight, although certainly understand that that's the goal, and I am inclined to think that by September 30th, all the data will be on the table. We have a televised work session, part of our regular session actually, with community members September 16th.
Right.
So that may work. I don't mean to suggest that it won't, but I'm not sure that we'll commit to it tonight.
And our belief is that by the 16th, certainly by getting comments from the public, and obviously all of our assessments will be in by that point. And I'm sure your consultants will have the ability to review everything by that point.
Okay.
By the 30th, we should be.
It's in nobody's interest to drag it out longer than it has to be, but by the same token, I think a little premature to guarantee it. So.
Okay. Well, here I'm giving you a heads up as to what.
Okay. Thank you.
So let me turn it over to Anthony and take you through the tweaks on the plan, and we'll go through it at that point. Do you want to switch?
As soon as you got show and tell now?
Points, yeah.
All right, so I think we should switch so that everybody can see.
Pleasantville get a request from the Thruway Authority to sell Easy Pass passes. You want to? Yeah, no point.
We're too far away from that to worry about it. No,
You don't want
we
to?
wouldn't do it. Do we get a call?
Yeah, it'd be good if it's not worth it, right?
Nah.
Can everybody see that? Is that okay? Looks good. Okay. Again, as David said, my name is Anthony Guccione with JMC, and I'd like to take you through a few changes we've made to the plan. We've gotten some comments from the board, as well as met with some of the village staff, and we'd just like to take you through a few changes that have resulted from those meetings and the comments that we've heard. First, we've reduced the actual parking to be constructed at the site by 7 spaces. We were previously proposing 65 spaces. We're now proposing to construct 58 spaces and land bank 7 spaces. The spaces have been removed in this location here, And those 7 spaces will be landscaped. It'll be a landscaped area, but in the future, if those spaces are ever deemed to be necessary, they could be built in that location.
And you did that to achieve what?
It was a comment from the board that they had the feeling it was a little over-parked, and maybe we could reduce the impervious surface a little bit, so as a result of
Does
that.
improve the buffer to the home to the north?
It does. Well, over here, they were concerned about the cars which faced the road, the houses, and had those headlights in that direction. There is a retaining wall along that side, so the lights would really be blocked by the retaining wall, but all the same, we thought they were the most sensitive spaces where we could reduce them adjacent to those houses.
Okay.
Okay?
And is it your belief operationally at the moment that 58 is enough?
Yeah, we had a discussion with Benchmark, and they believe that that is the number they need operationally. At first, they were thinking 65, and when we went back and expressed the board's concerns, they said 58 would be fine. They really would not be comfortable going much lower than that,
Okay.
operationally, based on, how they operate all their other facilities, what they've learned. Secondly, we had a meeting with Chief Columnaris and Mr. O'Connor, your DPW superintendent, went over some of the utilities for the site, fire department access. Fire department access, we explained, fire trucks can maneuver into the driveway, pull here, and then back into this parking lot and get access to the end of this parking lot here. They could also pull across the front of the site, across the north side of the building, pull into this hammerhead and back into the maintenance area, giving access to this entire perimeter of the site to here. Chief Columnaris had asked a little more access would be nice at the rear of the building, especially in the south east corner here. So what we did was we put some mountable curb on the curb here, put some stabilized turf 20 feet wide here, had to push the wall back about 5 feet to accommodate that 20-foot access aisle, and now it would be stabilized turf 20 feet width, and now we have access extending all the way back to the rear of the property here. Secondly, we talked about the water system. This is just a little color on the utilities plan, but if you can see again, the building, this blue line represents the proposed water main. We're proposing an 8-inch water main to serve the building. Originally, we were proposing to come down the driveway, tie in at Bedford Road. After meeting with Mr. O'Connor and his staff, they suggested it may be a better location to connect in Maple Hill Road, because while there are 2 water mains in Bedford Road, one on the site side, one on the opposite side, we would not be permitted to tie into the water main on the site side. We had to go across Bedford Road to the other side, which is the water main that we'd be permitted to tie into, and that would require traffic control and stopping traffic in Bedford Road, as well as accessing the road and cutting it up. So rather than that, there's a grassed area across the front of the church site. We'll be coming across there, tying into an existing water main on the site side of Maple Hill Road. Continue across the church frontage, then come into the driveway, up the driveway, around the rear of the building. Mr. Chief Columnaris had asked for 2 hydrants. We're going to propose one at opposite corners of the building, one here at the southeast corner, come around the building, and provide one at the northwest corner of the building. So we'd have opposite corners of the building with fire hydrant protection. Also, it's conveniently, the mechanical room is located in the back of the building, so as we come around with the water main, we can just feed the water system into the building right there at the mechanical room.
What size water main is that?
Proposing an 8-inch.
It is what's currently on Maple Hill.
An 8-inch.
And is there enough flow for the?
Yeah, we're looking at that now. We did get some preliminary flow information from the DPW, and we'll have to analyze that to see how much pressure we need at the top of the building. It could potentially be dropped to a 6-inch on our site. We're not sure if it's going to be a 6 or an 8. We would propose what's adequate, but there was substantial pressure and flow in that main, yeah. Regarding the sanitary system, there's a red line here that shows the sanitary system. We would come out again of the mechanical room. Sanitary system would be this red pipe, and then we would connect to an existing sanitary line that runs down the northern side of the Benchmark property there. Mr. O'Connor requested that we provide a manhole at the connection point, which we'll be happy to put in, construct a manhole over the pipe, and then terminate our pipe into that sanitary line right at that location. In terms of stormwater, there are a number of green infrastructure practices we're incorporating into the site. The stormwater pollution prevention plan has been designed in accordance with the requirements of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, as well as the Village of Pleasantville. 3 green practices that'll be proposed. A green roof, this portion of the building here, and this green portion of the building here will be green roofs. Help to filter the water from some of the roof and provide cooling and some green practices on top of the roof. There are 5 stormwater planters proposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's an approved method by DEC where you could run roof drain leaders down into a planter that filters the stormwater and it overflows into the storm system on the site. The third green infrastructure practice would be this parking lot here will be porous pavement. Water can actually flow through the pavement into the ground and increase the infiltration, the water quality, and treatment of the water, as well as reduce the rate of runoff off the site by providing that storage into the ground. After being collected by a stormwater system, the rest of the water that hits the paved areas and the impervious areas of the site will be collected by catch basins and a network of pipes. Those pipes will run through hydrodynamic water quality structures, such as a CDS unit, takes out floatables, any kind of debris, sediment, sand, and oils. And after that, it would flow through 2 water quality structures, one here, one on this side, and then from there it would flow into these subsurface storm tech chambers. Sir?
Capacity of the storm chambers?
There are, let me see, how many did we put in this? Those would be 102 units, and they have 109 cubic feet of storage each. So, well, you're looking at about 10,000 cubic feet of storage there. It's a substantial system. 2 of them, again, one here located at the south side of the site, one at the north side of the site. There's additional treatment in those systems. There are isolator rows, which all the water has to flow through these isolator rows. They have a filtering system in them, and it overflows from those isolator rows into the storm tech units, which are hollow on the bottom. They're arched units, and it creates quite a void in the parking lot. They're underlain by gravel, and around it is stone on top of it, which provides more void space. And this provides an interface with the soil for the stormwater to actually flow into the ground. And so that would provide the rest of the water quality volume that's required by the DEC, as well as the mitigation for water quantity from the site. And then after being treated and infiltrated into the site there, any additional overflow would go out into a storm system and go to the storm system in Bedford Road where it currently goes today. And the stormwater system has been designed so there's no increase in the rate of runoff from the site compared to existing conditions, and the water quality will be at least as good or better than what it is existing today.
Okay, no increase in total runoff from the site?
Right, we're actually mitigating the runoff, yes. It's in the report, and we've submitted the stormwater pollution prevention plan to the village, and that's for review by the staff. And I think with that, I think Mr. Cook can just briefly describe some of the life safety systems in the building that we went through with Chief Columnaris and things, construction of the building and things like that will further enhance life safety. Yes, ma'am.
In the process of building, will there be blasting?
That we're not determined. There is some material to be removed from the site, a small portion of which is rock. We've had preliminary geotech. There were some test pits dug early at the site, but they were only able to go down about 12 feet with the arm on the hoe that was there. We're going to do some borings, and we're going to do, the DEC requires infiltration testing in the locations where we're doing the stormwater, so we're going to do some borings, and in those borings we'll do infiltration testing. And in addition, we've identified a whole number of additional spots where we're going to do borings and get that information from the geotechnical engineer, and we can get a better handle on the rock. But from the initial testing that was done out there, the rock is pretty deep. We will hit some. Not sure if that would be taken out just by chipping it out or a little bit of blasting. That is, until we got a contractor on board, it's a little early to tell, but it will be a small percentage of the material to be removed from the site, that we know.
In the papers you submitted to the village, you said there was 4,000 cubic yards of rock?
Correct, roughly. That's rough, based on very rough test pits. We'll be able to nail that down a little better when we get this second round of geotech.
And the geotech will be done before the board holds its public hearings on the result, or after?
That'll be over the next couple of weeks. That's the plan, yeah, to get that done in the next several weeks before we have the public hearings. With that, if there are other questions, I can hand it over to Bill. Mr. Cook? Thank you.
Good evening, Bill Cook at Benchmark. Again, hopefully I'll just keep this short and sweet, but it's kind of a summation, a little bit of our meeting with the fire department and just specifically about the actual construction of our building. And that we currently are building to what we call an I2 non-combustible standard. So the building itself is a steel framed building with fire protection on all of the structural steel. All the proper ratings are in place through a combination of drywall and fire stopping throughout the building. And in addition, the building is actually fully sprinklered to what is known as an NFPA 13 standard. And what that essentially means is that every space in the building over a minimum square footage is sprinklered. So that includes closets, small chases, interstitial spaces, and so on. A lot of times in a residential environment, you can get away with what's called a 13R system, where you don't have to sprinkler closets or any of the smaller spaces. Our system actually goes beyond that. And we would also have a fully addressable fire alarm system that would come down to the door, so it would be basically a state-of-the-art system where every single sprinkler head, smoke detector, heat detector, anything in the building will be tied back to a main panel down in the lobby. Each one is fully addressable, so if you had a smoke going off at the end of corridor up near room 213, that would be easily readable by the fire department, and they could immediately, upon accessing the building, know exactly where they need to get to in the building. So it's, we take very seriously the issue of safety, and we feel that, this type of construction, although we are actually permitted by code to build out of wood or to a lesser standard, that we feel it's important that we build to a higher standard with an eye to the future, as opposed to just kind of staying with the way things are done in the past or how they've been done. So.
Good evening, Rich Pearson, John Meyer Consulting. Just very briefly on the traffic, we did provide some supplemental information in a letter dated August 15th. There was a comment regarding the peak hours of the adjacent roadway network. Typically, we do traffic counts for this type of development from 7 to 9 o'clock in the morning and from 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the afternoon. There was a comment that there were some counts from the New York State Department of Transportation that suggested an earlier peak hour beginning around 3 o'clock p.m. We looked at the state data, and there's two locations for the state counts. The first is on South Greeley Avenue, 250 feet south of South Greeley Avenue on Manville Road, actually Bedford Road at that location. It's still Route 117. And with that, those traffic counts were, as we would typically find, where the peak occurred between 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock p.m. And the hour from 4 to 5 was just a little bit less than that. And then the hours from yes, sir.
May I ask, when were those counts taken?
Yes.
What time of the year?
Yes.
And compared to the New York State DOT?
Actually, I am talking of the New York State DOT.
So you did your own traffic study?
We did.
And when did you take the counts there?
We took our counts in November of 2012, and the state counts were conducted at the first location, on October of 2008. And as I was saying, the state counts for that location on 117 towards Chappaqua had less traffic from 3 to 4 and from 4 to 5 as compared to 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. The second location that the state had counts is on the Manville Road section of Route 117, and that count was conducted in May of 2009, and those counts did have an earlier peak at 3 to 4 p.m. And I found that interesting to have that earlier peak, and then I checked with the state regarding the specific location of those counts, and those were actually done right near the Bedford Road School. So I believe that it's the skewing of the parents picking up the school children is why there was an earlier peak at that section of the roadway. As I mentioned in our response package, that we will be doing counts in the Old Village at the intersection of Broadway and Bedford Road and Bedford Terrace as requested by your consultant BFJ, and as part of those counts we will begin those counts at 3 o'clock p.m. and count continuously through till 6 o'clock p.m. So if there is need to make the adjustment, we will make that adjustment in the analysis that we have already undertaken.
changes to make, what the volumes, what the rates of traffic at those peak hours have been changed from 2008 to 2012?
I'd have to get back to you on the specifics of that. Yep. We wouldn't plan on doing 24-hour counts for this type of development. It's a relatively low generator. You can get an idea of the 24-hour variations from the state counts. So it's a question of what the specific turning movements are during the peak hours is what we look at.
Is there any consideration to doing a count at the intersection of Maple Hill and 117?
Yes, we previously had submitted information for that intersection.
And what
That was our.
And that's up on the website, right? You can download the whole report.
Right, that count was just done during the school season. It wasn't
That's-
done during
That's correct. So that's where I'm saying we will, when we do the counts in the Old Village, we'll begin at 3 o'clock. And if we do find an earlier peak, then we would go back and check the volumes from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock at the Maple and Manville Road intersections with Bedford Road, Maple Hill.
Any considerations to doing pedestrian counts?
Yes, pedestrian counts are always included in our counts.
You're saying you would repeat the evening counts, but not the morning counts?
The morning counts, there was no question about what hours those occurred at. We did our morning counts from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., and that's consistent with what we typically do for these types of developments. And the BFJ review, they had noted the state counts relative to the afternoon period only.
Are you aware that the church in previous years had a daycare center that ran out of its building that emptied out onto Maple Hill Road and therefore onto 117, where there was a lot of extra traffic, both in morning drop-off time and midday pickup time?
It doesn't any longer exist.
It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist now, but there's a possibility that with the money the church will be gaining from the sale of this property, they might rehabilitate the facilities to the point where that daycare might be reinstituted.
To the extent that a new use would come onto the church property, which of course would not be our property after the subdivision, of course, that use would have to come before either your board or the planning commission.
Wouldn't be a new use, it would be the same use that they.
That was an independent nursery school, it was
Either,
they rented the property from the church.
and either way would be an amendment to the site plan, and therefore your regulations would already cover that situation.
No, I'm just asking in terms of traffic.
And again, the traffic study would have to be submitted. What I would say is I believe that BFJ has reviewed the process that we've already gone through with the traffic, and as well as our proposed new process, the new traffic county. I believe that the consultant or the traffic consultant is also on board with our approach
Yes.
to that.
Yes, and we reviewed the latest submission, and we found that we answered our questions, with the exception of the one count which you have not done yet. And we might suggest that you wait until the second week of school, just because traffic's developing higher on the first week, more parents dropping off than normally may be the case.
So it's just a question of timing of when
Right.
we need to get the report to you for you to have that information submitted. If we can, we will. Otherwise, it may be actually a conservative analysis if there are more parents dropping off than otherwise.
From our standpoint, that's fine. We don't use the first week of school. I think it's anecdotally clear that there's more traffic, not less. So.
Agreed.
So with that, we could try to tap dance for another 40 or a half an hour or so before if you'd like. But you guys are right, yeah. Well, no, we could watch more highlight film, but it really, obviously, it is sort of a midway point, or not even midway point, but sort of a check-in point until September. So that's what we have for you tonight. Certainly, if there are any other questions. Yes.
I have a question. The green initiatives that you're taking into effect here, are any of those leads approved, or the leads regulations, or?
I was going to say, they will all help with that. Currently we are building to LEED standards. Our targeted goal for this building would be a LEED silver. We currently have another property in Connecticut under construction that is tracking LEED silver to almost LEED gold. So we actually, the last property we just opened was actually a LEED platinum. So we have a good grasp on the LEED system. And I guess to the real point is, as you said, every one of those helps from a LEED perspective, but it's actually, I think, PVC is probably more stringent actually as that.
So the green roof, do you have them in any of your other buildings?
We do not currently. We have one under planning for our property in Stamford.
And so with the green roof, usually there's plantings on the roof, that's why it's green. But so my question would be that when we saw the simulation, the views of the neighbors from the elevations a couple of weeks ago.
I don't believe we showed
You
the.
didn't show any
not
of
show
the
the
green.
green.
Okay.
And I'd just like to also confirm that as a green roof, it would be strictly from a stormwater management green roof. It wouldn't be accessible, it wouldn't be a rooftop garden or anything along those lines. Because then you have to fence it in and you lose all the effects of the green roof.
So I guess there's the open question of procedurally moving forward. Right. The reason why we are seeking at least a scheduled public hearing on the 30th, not necessarily to finish the review itself, but there is some logistical issues that we have to notice, et cetera, although I think there's generally notice already, but we still have to follow those. So we would like at least a little bit of lead time, not only for the notice, but also so that we can make sure that all of our analyses are before your board, in time for the public hearing. We would request, if that's okay with council, at least to schedule it, maybe if we want to keep it open.
Are you familiar, the scope was 617.3 F, which says an application is not complete until there's either been a net deck or there's been a pod deck?
Yes, oh, I know, and
I mean, I think it's really premature at this point.
Well,
and I'm not sure it's within the bounds of the secret to allow a hearing schedule.
I mean, obviously, we can talk about it offline. We're not seeking a determination or any action from the board. Just to schedule a public hearing. But if the board does not want to have it at this point, all we would be asking for is at least an indication of when this is going to occur, so we can get our ducks in a row in terms of notice, etc.
Can I just ask you, other than this traffic study that will be performed when school is open, are there any other additional reports or studies?
Well, the geotechnical, right?
Right.
That are coming in also?
Right, which we anticipate would be ready by that point. Those are sort of the last two. We know that there'll be some comments from BFJ.
Well, I had in my notes from the last meeting that there was some desire for additional visual analysis with the Law Commission. Now, obviously, it's not the right time to hear for that, but I think you were asked to at least look at what other information you could provide to that effect. And there was also a comment about noise, making sure that you use quiet HVAC units. I think that's about it. We just got all this stormwater stuff. So we'll review that, and the geotechnical stuff is yet to come.
Well, certainly the noise, obviously, the units themselves will meet all standards, but also we did, during the visual analysis, go through the type of screening that would be on the roof. But if the board would like more information, we can certainly provide that before the hearing. In terms of the visuals, I know during the visual analysis there was a request for a winter view. Now that winter view, to turn the analysis into a winter view would be unduly burdensome, because it would essentially be recreating.
Well, how about just a still image? Is that, I don't mean the full-scale video, but...
We're certainly able to do that. In fact, we worked up some initials. Do you have it here? Yeah, we do have some initials that we've already done.
I don't think anyone's asking you to wait till February, but...
You can if you want.
Well, yes.
But to the extent that you can provide some more analysis.
Yes, I mean, obviously what we've tried to do is take, and we know that the comments are really coming from the neighbors on Maple Hill. So what we've tried to do is take photos, actual real-time photos that were taken in the wintertime during, I think it was a site due diligence or at that point, and we'll show everybody in a second.
From want to deprive the...
Sorry, from the public right of way.
You're worse than my trainer.
I am your friend.
So what we did is, these are, and Anthony can certainly go into it, these are stills from the actual video that you've seen. And we're comparing them with the same vantage point to photos from actual conditions during the winter. This was taken
This past winter, probably, February. What we tried to do was, we went through, we just happened to have taken a bunch of photos.
Barry, you're catching that if he doesn't have a mic, or?
No, he needs a mic.
Yeah, better? Hook me here. All right, so luckily we had taken some pictures over this past winter. We went through and picked out some of the best ones that we thought were maybe most representative of the views from Maple Hill Road in the winter. We have several of the houses looking from, so in all these instances, you're standing on Maple Hill Road, looking down the hill towards the site. We wanted to get a feel for, what the tree cover was at the site. And I know we looked at this summertime, and this is a winter view. So, and then we went into the model and we took some snapshots of the same, pretty much as close as we can get to the same view as the photograph showed, to show a little comparison. Now, as we were explaining when we presented the model several weeks ago, we really don't have any trees beyond our site. So it shows the proposed trees that we're proposing and the trees that were actually surveyed up to the property boundary. Beyond that, none of those trees were depicted on the model because they were not surveyed. So you really cannot find those locations accurately. So you can see a picture like this. This is the house. You can see there's a whole lot of trees in the foreground, some in the background, and then the site. You can see a little bit of the church roof through the trees there. You can almost make it out. And again, here's the church roof in the background. So it shows that the model is pretty accurate. This is the existing house, the church roof, and again, there's a whole bunch more trees on this property that will remain. Obviously, we're not taking down any trees on the neighbors' properties, and it kind of gives you a feel for what the viewpoint is from that location in the winter. Again, the second picture is the house. Again, the house with the same driveway going down in that location. And again, it adds all these additional trees that are actually there that were not depicted in the model. And then finally, this picture looking down, this is sort of standing at the cul-de-sac, looking down the hill. You can see a little bit of the roof of the proposed building down in the distance with some of the trees that we're proposing here and a couple of the existing trees, but again, none of these trees in the foreground that provide additional screening from Maple Hill Road. So hopefully, without recreating that whole model in winter, we were hoping this would give people a little bit of a feel of what their winter views would actually be like.
Is that something, and indeed, all of the boards you showed us, are those things that you could give us in PDF so we could post them on this website?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Okay, that'd be helpful.
And those are views only from standing on the road, not from at a house on the second story of a house, looking out your window or looking out your deck.
That's correct. They're from the road.
That's correct. And I'm sure, obviously, BOJ can weigh in on this, and Joel will probably weigh in on this as well.
Safe to go back, are we?
Yes, unless, right. Wasn't me this time. Obviously, DC visual analyses require analyses from public right-of-ways because the issue is public views. Now, of course, we're doing everything that we can, and we continue to do everything we can to make sure that we know that these types of views from the neighbors' concerns would be addressed. But from a visual analysis, in terms of a determination of significance, the issue is from public right-of-ways with this piece of significance. So that's why we've obviously taken these photos. We'll supply those. Patty can supply these, and we'll email them to you tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. We're just trying to get that information available to everybody as easily as possible at pleasantville-ny.gov.
Yes.
So you owe us the geotechnical, and you think that's a couple of weeks off-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Probably a week after. Right, and then you'll be doing these revised traffic counts early in September, and so that's sort of mid-September, you'll be setting that stuff back our way. Joel, maybe for everybody's benefit, is it helpful to sort of describe the process?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Patty, can you push the mic over so it gets recorded?
I think before a determination can be made by the Board of Trustees as a lead agency as to whether to issue a positive declaration or require an EIS.
Which is a separate matter from approving or not.
Absolutely, yeah, that has nothing to do with approval of the project or the zone change, whatever. you have to have all the information before you so that if there's ever a challenge, the board would be able to indicate that they've taken a, quote, hard look at all the potential environmental impacts of the project. And I think, you know, the applicant is almost there, but the applicant has some additional information to submit. I understand that some of the neighbors on Maple want to put a presentation on the 16th, and I really think that before you are ready to go to the next step in the secret process, you have to get the additional documentation from the applicant. Again, we don't want to hold them up, and also hear from the neighbors. And once you have a full record of all the potential environmental impacts, I think the board would be in a better position to make an environmental
and then once we
determination.
make the secret determination, it's at that point that we'd be in a position to schedule a public hearing, which requires, what, 30 days notice?
Correct, but there also may need to be, I was just looking at your ordinance, whether there is going to need to be a formal referral of the proposed zoning amendment to the planning commission.
Well, that's...
Unless,
that's already occurred.
I know it's
Yeah.
gone, but I'm not sure it's gone as a referral.
It has. There's a resolution from the board, I think in February.
Right, not just for comments on seeker, but a referral
for
to
the
zoning text?
yeah.
It has been? Well, as an involved agency, it could have gone for their comments on whether or not there should be a positive or negative. I'm not sure, but what I'm saying is even if there has been, I think the better course of action for an applicant would be to wait.
Why don't we do this? If it's okay with the board, obviously we'll be here on the 16th as well, and revisit it on the 16th if that works. Because by that point, certainly we hear from the neighbors, and hopefully most of our reports, if not all, will be done by that point. So
All right, so that works for you?
that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. All right, sounds like a good course of action. All right, I thank you for that. Appreciate the additional detail. If you could get those PDFs Patty's way, we'll get them up on the website. That's really, I think, helpful to everybody to be able to vet what's been supplied. And as mentioned, we propose what might have been a work session with community members, but is actually going to take place during our regular televised meeting so that it's part of the formal record and will be a videotape viewable both live and also later on. So that is September 16, 8 p.m. We'll start. In the meantime, all the stuff that we get up on the website, and we've been letting a few of you for whom we have emails know when things are happening, and I think the system is working pretty well within the group of people who are concerned to distribute that to the interested parties. We also put it up on the website. Sound good? That's a plan. All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate your attention. Welcome to the Village Board meeting for the Village of Pleasantville. Today is Monday, August 26th. If you were watching live on Monday, August 26th, we encourage you to call in if you have comments or questions. Our call-in number is 769-1677. We started our evening tonight with a work session that, unlike our usual work session, we televised and taped. That was because it was a presentation by the folks from Benchmark Senior Living who have proposed a zoning change that would permit a senior assisted living project on the northern parcel of the Methodist Church on Bedford Road just past Maple Hill. They came to us tonight and presented some changes, modest changes they had made to the plan, provided more information about their stormwater and fire safety plans, updated us on the work they are doing to update their traffic studies and their conversations with the fire department. So that we recognize happened on the last week of August, and lots of people are away. So for that reason, we filmed it and taped it, and within a few days, you'll be able to pick that up at pctv76.org. and catch up with anything you might have missed. The other thing I wanted to point out, for those who have an interest in the proposed benchmark project, we've scheduled a session at our board meeting on Monday, September 16 at 8 p.m. A big chunk of that meeting will be devoted to a community discussion about the benchmark project. That also televised and taped for those who would like to watch at home or who can't get there and would like to watch later. So anybody with an interest in benchmark, the next landmark date is Monday, September 16. And as we told the folks who were here during the work session, each time Benchmark provides us with new data and a new report, we post it on our website at pleasantville-ny.gov. So plenty of material, plenty of information to be had, not only about Benchmark, but also the Toll Brothers project. We have not had an updated report from Toll. Are expecting one fairly soon. Is that fair to say, Patty?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I had a couple of announcements to make, and one of them is an important one for everybody to pay attention to, and that is the STAR tax rebate, which allows you to qualify for a reduction in your taxes that most of us have been enjoying for a good long while, is going to require a recertification. The state has determined that there are some people who have been receiving this who are not entitled to it, either because they are high-income earners or because they are earning this on a home that's not their primary home. So what's going to happen is there will be a mailing that everybody receives that gives you a code to log in with, and you will recertify yourself online. But if you don't do that by, I believe, the end of the year, you will lose your STAR certification for the tax year that follows and will not be able to get that discount. So we will have more to say about that as the mailings start going out from the state. Patty, we can post that little flyer, if
Yes,
you
I
would,
will.
on the website at pleasantville-ny.gov.
It's already posted.
It is?
I
Sorry?
think it should be.
Great.
I had trouble with the web, but I think
I
I
saw
got
it there.
that on.
But
I
anyway,
sent an announcement out.
nothing to be done yet because the mailings from the state have not come out, but just have it on your radar screen that this fall, one of your key goals is to recertify yourself for STAR so you do not lose that STAR rebate, which for many people is quite significant. Anybody else have announcements to make?
I thought we were doing the Code Red, or no?
Oh, yeah, let's talk about Code Red. Colleen, you want to talk about it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Code Red is the system that the village has subscribed to, which will allow us to contact you in the case of an emergency via email, text message, cell phone, home phone. So it'll contact you on all levels until it sort of reaches you. We have a flyer or a letter that we're going to be sending out. Looks like this. Have you gone red? We're going to ask everybody to go red, and you go to our website. And you will fill out the information, and then we'll be running a test at a certain point, and then we'll be able to communicate issues. We encourage everyone to do it. We know last year when we went through the hurricane, we had a hard time getting in touch with everybody. This will allow us to get in touch with you no matter what's working, not working. And we'll have cards around town, also in the library, at the police department where you can fill it out. But we would encourage you to go online and do it. That way we don't worry about typos and wrong numbers.
There's already an icon on the website.
Yeah, there's an icon on the website. Our new website should be up soon. We're just waiting for all the software to be finished. But you can still go on there to pleasantville-new-york.gov. Pleasantville-new-york.gov.
So if we do it now, our information will be stored?
Yep.
Yes.
We encourage you to do it
Is the
now.
system on for us?
The system
Yes,
is
it is.
on.
Okay.
And actually, if we had an emergency tomorrow, we already have numbers that are in. We could do an all-call and get more information. So we're already in the process of doing it, but this would really make sure that everyone is covered with every number, every email, every cell phone.
You should put it at the rec department too.
Right. So,
Yeah, good idea. Mike.
Yeah,
Project
rec
Red.
department, great
so
idea.
as Colleen mentioned, be on the lookout in September for the mailing that we'll send to everybody, but jump on it right now.
Yes.
It's an enormous, enormous benefit. It was a huge problem for lots of people when they were out of power during Hurricane Sandy. They had left their home or camped out with somebody else. They still would like to get the updates. So using your mobile phone or your
Particularly
email
since as
account.
we are approaching
Should
hurricane
be.
season.
Right.
You know, we're about to go into it, so, you know, I would encourage everyone to do it now.
And you know, if we do this, we won't have a hurricane, so
Yeah,
that's why you
exactly.
should do it even more.
For Joel.
All right.
Unless you're gonna leave town. Are you leaving town anytime soon?
Rooted to the
I'd
spot.
just like to mention too that September 9th is back to school in Pleasantville, and that we just adhere to all the parking rules, and that we slow down, and that we're aware that we're going to have a lot of kids out on the street, particularly those first weeks of school, and that if everyone can be neighborly and friendly, we'll keep it a safe back to school week.
Great. All right. Any comment from the public? Anybody have something they wanted to bring up? Call-in number is 769-1677. We have an active work session agenda tonight, including some executive session stuff with our attorney, Joel Sachs, who is here with us tonight. So we'll jump to the resolutions. Number 198, Cully.
Resolved that pre-check register dated August 26, 2013, covering check number 76201 through 76262 has been reviewed, and they are hereby approved as listed below. Coming from the general fund, the water fund, the capital fund, the refuse fund, the pool fund, and the trust and agency fund, totaling $684,851.70.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments, questions?
Patty, a lot of Newcastle checks in this one. Is that
Yes.
all water fund?
Yes, it's reimbursement for the ozonation system that we took out a bond anticipation note, if you recall, to cover that. And
There was also a large check to Bellotti, that's Bellotti Construction. There was a big check for $110,000. Just wanted to clarify.
Let me take a look at that. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was our paving. That was our
Okay.
CHIPS reimbursable
Okay.
paving on Grandview
I just
and,
wanted to check, because it was larger than
yes, on Pleasant Avenue.
we normally see.
Yeah, they're under state contract there.
Okay,
They're the,
thank you.
the bidders for paving. But yes, Newcastle was to cover the cost for filtration, our payments.
For those who may not be familiar, we are partners in a water filtration plant with the town of Newcastle, which is Chappaqua, Millwood, et cetera. And there is a shared formula for capital costs, and this big capital cost was for new ozone generators.
Right.
Devices that generate ozone, which is part of the filtration process, so.
And I never heard it called ozonation, Patty. Did you make that word up? Is that
No.
like a new word?
No,
Is it
that's for real.
Hashtag ozonation?
I speak the Queen's English.
Okay.
That's all I have to
All
say
right.
about that.
The Queen's English? Queen's
She's
New
from
York? or-
Queens, yeah.
That's all I have
All
to
in
say
favor?
about that.
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Number 199.
They liked
Resolved
it.
that the Board of Trustees has reviewed the minutes of the meeting held on Monday, August 12th, 2013, and they are hereby approved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions?
I just wanted to, one of the things that was in the minutes, it was just a good reminder, is that we were going to get a little review of the music festival.
We did, it was in the packet.
Did it?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
got
I'm
it.
sorry, I missed
No,
it.
don't worry. I
Right.
have something on for work session.
So,
Okay.
All
It
right.
was in
All right.
the work session.
Thanks.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved.
I should have circulated it.
200. Motion resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following block party requests: Sunnyside Avenue for Saturday, September
Whoa,
14th.
hold it. Aren't we
Yeah.
191?
200.
200.
You're lost in the minutes.
Oh, I'm in the minutes, yeah. So, sorry.
Don't follow the Joker.
Oh, God, that's
We're
bad.
now peering into
That's bad.
screens in our,
them. I thought
No,
in
it's
our
good. It
wireless
was good.
system.
No, you
the
did
white
good.
rabbit.
Yeah.
Those of us paying
No, you did
attention have no
perfectly.
It was
problem.
really good, it was really good, Judy.
Ignore it.
Let me just go to my table of contents. Go ahead, 200.
See, that was almost all the way through it.
I don't know how he sees the whole
Resolved that the Board of
screen.
Trustees
Oh,
hereby approves the
disgusting.
following block party requests: Sunnyside Avenue for Saturday, September 14th from 4 to 8 p.m. and Charles Lane, Saturday, September 21st from 3 to 11:59 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sarles, 11:59 is the
That's
witching
late,
hour.
But why is it, oh, because it has to be before midnight? I mean,
That's what they asked
That's what
for.
they asked for. It is. All the things that we can grant, I'm in favor.
Both great traditions, all in favor? Aye, motion approved. 201, Brian.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the appointment of Gary Gibbs to the civil service position of community service worker effective September 15th, 2013, at a salary of $38,252, Said appointment is subject to the satisfactory results of background check and references.
Is there a second?
Second.
Patty, you want to describe this new hire?
Yes, I'm delighted to present Gary Gibbs as a candidate for the community service worker position that was vacated by Dorothea Johnson. We talked about the need, to fill that position, and I canvassed the list in accordance with the requirements from civil service. Mr. Gibbs comes highly recommended. He currently has employment with the town of Newcastle as a traffic enforcement officer. You may have seen him on occasion direct traffic in Newcastle, and when you meet him, you may recognize him. He also has an excellent reputation working with the Byram Hills School District as an IT tech. And I couldn't say enough about the comments that were given to me by his employers in both of those locations. So,
Primary responsibilities in our venue would be parking enforcement as well as
parking
assistance
enforcement
with
and
traffic and school crossings.
School crossing, right?
Patty, I forget, did we budget this position?
No, we did not. We're going to have to make some amendments.
So why did we just, forgive me, I may not have been here. I don't remember this discussion as to hiring another civil service person that wasn't budgeted. So why, can you give me some background on that? Because
sure, yeah.
I'm not, this is one of those positions where, done properly, it probably doesn't end up costing the village very much because they generate, although that's not their goal,
yes.
but I'm not sure why we've changed course on this.
For several reasons. Coverage from a police perspective for the school crossing, because a lot of that was covered by Dorothea, which would now have to be covered by police either on an overtime basis or on some other means. And also because we do not have effective coverage, for our community with respect to parking and traffic enforcement with one person. We're just not seeing.
So why didn't we budget it?
Well, the short version of a long story is that we thought that when we had the retirement, we had two community service workers, knew that one was retiring, and decided in the budget process that we would see if we could achieve the goals with only one. It is developing that we can't. And we had you probably did miss that work session conversation, but for a variety of reasons, it seems clear that we have to.
We normally keep the retired person in there as a placeholder, the salary. We didn't do that?
We did not do that. We were looking at some different types of cost-effective ways to do things, and it's just not going to materialize.
Mm-hmm. No, I know that we need it.
And again, but Dorothea's been gone 2 months, 3 months now?
No, she left in April.
3 months, okay, yes, good boys, it's gone fast, okay, 4 months. And it's clear we can't limp along for another year before we can get this back into a budget. I mean, the only reason I'm pushing this is because during our budget discussions, this is exactly what I was pushing back on and what I was worried about, is that we cut the budget so thin, and having, adding a $38,000 employee to a budget that was tight to begin with, I worry about doing that, even though I know we're trying to do the best job. And I'm sorry if I missed the work session discussion, but this is problematic for a budget to do this.
The job also produces revenue. So one of the problems we're confronting right now is a shortfall in the revenue line
and
as
it's
well.
generating overtime.
Right. So we are.
But also, this
this
is not a real number either.
Situation.
Right, this may actually improve where our numbers would be at the end of the
year.
year.
Cut down on overtime.
No, but this isn't a real number.
So okay.
Well, that's an annual salary.
That's just a salary number. That's not a benefit and contribution.
So if that's the case, as I asked Chief Love to do when he tried to make the case and did successfully end up making the case for an additional employee in the police department, can I see the backup for those numbers? Like, can I see how much revenue we've lost, how much overtime this is generating, so that we, I can get have we really done that work, or it's just something that we've looked at and said intuitively it feels like we're losing money?
No, we have data. We can show data, but I mean, you have to be careful with that because we don't have. We just don't. We can show some historical data, but there are circumstances that change. For example, this is a seasonal issue with parking and traffic in the village, as you know. So the last few months, it's been very light anyway. But when school starts in September, we feel we're going to need some assistance with school crossing, and it's going to save us a considerable amount of money to have somebody out doing traffic enforcement and ticketing, and somebody on the corner helping with.
I mean, there's no question,
'Cause I won't
Jonathan,
be able to have both.
that our goal here was to try to cut the staff to the bone. And in this case, I think the experience thus far and what we're looking at in the next several months makes clear that we shouldn't have tried, that we cut it too far. I am convinced that it's the right thing to do and that it will be net neutral, if not net benefit, to the end-of-year results as compared to not do anything about it at all from a purely financial standpoint. And if we were able to do it net neutral to the results we're looking at right now and have substantially more service, I think it's a pretty good case to do it.
Well, and indeed, I would have maybe have argued that when Dorothea was retiring, yet the counterpoint was argued. So 4 months is, I mean, look, you guys have had this. I'm not going to vote for this because I haven't seen the data. I'd like to see the data. I think adding a non-budgeted employee, given the budget process that we went through, is a mistake to do. And but
you think it's a mistake to do if the data that you seek indicates
if the data shows clearly that we'll save overtime and that it'll increase revenue by doing this, then okay. But I have to believe that was the same data that we were looking at when we decided not to budget the employee. I don't know how to reconcile the two. We have the same data. The data exists. You tell me it's historical. We have the same data that we've had for the last 10 years. We use the data to decide not to budget the employee to begin with, and now we're using the same data to say we should be budgeting the employee. I don't know which way to go.
We've added the data of the experience over the past 4 months, and the reality is we tried some and didn't work.
Well, but the last 4 months we've had light parking, and we've had no schools. So I mean,
and we've had trouble with coverage.
I think you also have to look at non-budgetary issues. People know that there's one officer, and they're taking advantage of the parking, and it's a problem.
It's true.
So, and I think if we wait, it's going to be an even bigger problem.
Right. I think we need to vote on it.
It's not just a
All right.
budget.
You can vote on it. I mean,
any
honestly,
further comment there?
Yeah, but no, we had also made other assumptions.
Well, I mean, other assumptions that we could make is that the police step in and write more tickets, in the times that they're not doing anything, and that we actually have 2 to 3 other employees that are on the road every day, every shift, that could be stepping up, writing tickets if indeed we are having this massive problem of people taking advantage. And so, instead of necessarily mandating a new position, we should be mandating to the police department, write more tickets and step it up, and let's see where that gets us.
I have to say, the work that our police department has done, particularly in the last 2 to 3 months, the last thing I want to say to them is you need to get out and write more tickets. They faced a lot of bigger issues in the last couple of months, and I think they've handled it well.
And I don't disagree with that, Colleen, at all. But I will say that those bigger issues tend to happen in very short periods of time, and there are long windows where they could be doing and stepping up enforcement. And I don't think it's unreasonable to request that in a time when every union is looking for a bigger increase in salary for their employees and more benefits.
I mean, the reality, Jonathan, and I think you know this from the same experience I've had, is that using police officers for crossing guard duties and for parking ticket duties racks up a very big bill because these people end up on an overtime shift at minimum 4 hours. It costs us a lot of money.
Maybe on crossing guard duty, but you can, crossing guard, you can, again, the amount that we pay for crossing guards on an hourly basis is far less than this. So, I mean, if it's just a crossing guard issue,
I don't think you're right about that.
We aren't paying our crossing guards $38,000 a year plus benefits.
Well, that's because they're not full-timers.
Exactly.
Right.
That's my point.
Right. But this person is doing other things as well. So, all right, understood your concerns.
Call the question.
Did we have a second on that? We did we not?
Yes, you did.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. Number 202, Ryan.
No, it's good.
No,
It's
No.
a good
Me.
point.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby amends the master fee schedule to reflect traffic fines and penalties previously amended and approved as follows. Would we prefer that I read them or just state
I
the
think
record?
you should.
Okay.
you should too.
Overtime in unmetered space, $20. Overtime in metered space, $20. Left side to curb, $20. No expired inspection, $20. Handicap space, no permit, $100 plus $30 New York State surcharge. Prohibited parking, $50. Double parked, $75. Limited parking, $10. Fire hydrant, $50. Snow ordinance, $25. Parking without permit, $50. Other, $20. Fire lane, $50. Not within white lines, $20. Block crosswalk, $20. Parked on sidewalk, $20. Tow away zone, $50. No time meter, $20. Expired registration, $20.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Patty, what is other?
Yeah, that's that's a catch-all.
It's one of those things that have been in the master fee schedule for like
Other-
4,000 years.
Other could be a violation of a rule or regulation that's temporarily in effect.
And then, and then.
It's like a parade.
Like for the parade, somebody
Right.
parks or something?
Right,
Could've
and it
been
gives
when
us a
the
little bit of
horse was
discretion.
drinking out of the wrong
I mean,
trough.
it's not, it has to be based on a rule, regulation, or a
Understood.
law.
So the rates are the same between no time meter and overtime in a metered space, but
Right.
what's the difference between those two things?
No time on meter. Let's see, where are you looking here?
The second from the last is no time meter for $20. The second from the top is overtime in a metered space for $20.
You're not going to like this answer.
I'm afraid that's true, but
No
give it to
time on
me.
the meter means your meter's expired. So the parking enforcement officer goes by, you got the red flag up, you get a
Yes,
ticket.
okay,
Overtime in a metered space
yeah,
means that you've fed the meter.
I see.
You're not allowed to stay beyond that.
Oh, no, that's a good
fair
answer. Thank you.
Yeah, but nobody likes
Okay.
to
No,
know
nobody
that if they
likes-
put
I
another
actually
quarter
thought
in.
these tickets were already $20.
Well, the point is, people don't really understand that if they have an hour limit parking, if they put another quarter in, they're
You
going to get a
can't
ticket.
stay.
That's what they get.
Because the intent of the hour limit is to keep the
That is
traffic,
correct.
the
It's
parking
1 hour.
turning over.
No, that
So-
was a good
Right.
explanation.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's the
Any
truth.
further comment?
And left side to curb
Are
is
they
just
really
parking on
only
the wrong side of the
$15
street.
now? Because I thought that they were, or I thought we had already raised these to 20 a while ago.
These are all existing. We just
Yeah,
didn't have them
okay.
in nothing's changing here.
All right, I
These are
didn't think
existing
so.
fines, we just have not had them in the fee schedule, and the
Okay.
judge wanted to see them
All right.
adopted by
Okay.
the board.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. Number 203, Mindy.
Resolved that the Board of Trustee hereby approves the following budget amendments to appropriate pool fund balance for workers' compensation insurance, amount to increase $2,500 to the expense code of workers' comp, to transfer funds from contingency for workers' compensation insurance in the amount of $15,104 from contingency to workers' comp, $5,000, these are all from contingency to workers' comp, for a total of $27,604. To transfer funds for various over-budget accounts, $184 from Justice Court software to Justice Court equipment, $390 for music festival overtime to music festival overtime.
The different code. But
Yeah, they're
Okay,
different
maybe
codes.
one was last year. To increase a revenue and expense for day camp part-time, overtime, and transportation in the amount of $8,155 from day camp fees to day camp part-time, $528 from day camp fees to day camp overtime, $9,858 from day camp fees to day camp transportation, for a total of $18,541 to increase. How long is this thing? Oh God!
Pages.
How did I get this one? I'm surprised I'm not hoarse or have a cold or something. To increase revenue and expense for PEG pass-through payments to PCTV from, this is totals, pardon me, $15,373 from PEG revenue to PEG expenses, $16,667 for Verizon PEG revenue to PEG expense, for a total of $32,040. And to record fiscal year 2014 band capital project budgets, a total of $1,818,000 from band payable to a various expense budget codes that include the Village Hall roof, DPW equipment, sidewalk reconstruction, complex pool complex renovations, library roof, sanitation vehicle, pump station, ozone generators. And to close prior year sidewalk account and transfer balance of funds to new fiscal year 2014 sidewalk account to $2,906.77 from capital sidewalks close account to the capital sidewalks fiscal year 2014. To close prior year street resurfacing account and transfer balance and funds. We're getting into my prenup again, all right? And transfer balance of funds to new fiscal year 2014 street resurfacing account, $16,211.61 from capital street resurfacing close account to the capital street resurfacing fiscal year 2014.
I just want to comment that most of these are bookkeeping. However, you should be aware that the workers' compensation insurance invoice came in after the budget was adopted and came in almost $30,000 higher than we were anticipating. So that's why you see these contingency appropriations to cover the workers' compensation costs.
Maybe you should read that again, just in case.
Maybe I should, that's a good idea.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right.
I have just a question to what you just said. The worker, we anticipated what our workman's comp was going to be, and then was it just a matter of the policy?
Yeah, it's an experience rating modification that gets adjusted based on experience that the village has with respect to workers' comp claims, and the state also made some adjustments into how it pays claims. It effectively increased its workers' compensation benefits, so all the employers had to pick up additional costs for that. And there's a special assessment the state puts on as well to administer whatever components it feels it has administered in this whole system.
So the price of workers' comp went up?
Yeah, it goes up on a payroll basis.
On a tax, and they
Well, and then there was a surcharge because of
they additionally taxed our workmen's comp.
There's unemployment surcharge this year too, so.
Right. That's just lovely.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion approved. That's the last of our resolutions. Let me remind you again, our meetings in September are a little different because of Labor Day. Our next regular session is on Monday, September 16. A big chunk of that meeting devoted to benchmark, as I mentioned earlier. We will be moving into executive session after this meeting to meet with our Village Council Joel Sachs and Eric Gordon from Keen and Bean on matters of real estate and personnel, and afterwards we'll be back to work session to talk about renovations of the pool and the music festival update. Is there a motion to adjourn the regular session?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to go into executive session on matters of real estate and personnel?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good evening, thank you. See you again on Monday, the 16th.